How are you guys doing this morning? How are you guys doing? How you guys doing? My name is KG, for those who do not know me, and I'm indeed part of Makaya Rundown. We are here Monday to Friday, 20%, and we have conversations that we hope to bring positiveness in our lives, conversations that help us grow. Sometimes it's difficult conversations, possibly like today's one, excuse me. So come through. Let's have these conversations. Let's engage. Let's grow together. And we also have our YouTube channel, same name, Makaya Rundown. We have a library of recordings there of our lives, where you can see and check all the wonderful advices, nice stories, everything is there, so you can have a look at it, and let's engage. Let's engage. Masibato, we see you. Vibe Stealer, how you doing? Magandru, hello. How are you? Madam Tubbs, we see you. I am KG. I'm also KG. Good morning. Noinil. Hello. Thank you for joining us. This is the topic of the day. Let's engage. Hello, Tati. I see you. How's your guys this morning today? Mr. Football 452. We see you, sir. Hello, Z. Good morning to you. Feel free to send a request to get onto the panel, and let's have conversations. How are you, Z? How's your morning? Manda Baumhle. That's a very interesting name. Not seen that before. Non-Jabula, non-Jabs. I see you. Welcome. Mandaba Omhle. Excuse me for butchering thy name. I'm good. I'm very good, Z. No complaints on my side. How was your weekend? Hello, Z.
Morning.
How are you doing, Mama?
I'm well, thanks. No complaints. Thank you for asking.
Oh, wonderful. How was your weekend?
It was good. Okay. I'll be back in a jiffy. Let me just get this call.
Not a problem. Good morning. Rudzani. Hello, hi, sir. Here is a topic for the day, what we can discuss. If you know someone who would benefit from having this conversation, just share the live with them, and let them enjoy this conversation, contribute, or just listen. But we would much prefer the contribution. Powerful topic. Thank you so much, Reynolds. Hello, Fussy baby. How are you? How are you? How are you? Thank you for the follow.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem at all.
There's a new family group, and my sister just called me to say, whoa, these prayer warriors every 2 seconds. I don't think this is going to work. I'm like, muted. So I had a good chuckle just now. She's like, no, I can't.
Yeah, no, definitely family groups are always where it's at.
Yo,
Always where
a
it's at.
lot. It's a lot, guys.
Yeah, I think we have to have a collective conversation about group etiquette because, hey, yeah,
Wow,
no,
because
yeah,
wow.
no, get a lot, get a lot. Otherwise, yes, you were saying, how was your weekend?
No, it was how was my weekend? Actually, it was relaxed. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing much to write home about. Um, so yeah, it was okay. Relaxed,
Good.
and yeah, we get back on the saddle, try get the bacon.
That's what we can do, what we must do.
Yeesh.
Also,
Yeah.
in any case, how's your interpretation of this?
Yo, guys, you know what, ne?
Is it a can of
Um,
worms?
it is. It certainly is.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, parent relationships
Mm.
can be so challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me unpack a bit.
Please do.
Um, my foundational years up until my early teenage years,
Mm-hmm.
my mom was in the UK, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we had a great relationship with dad, right?
Sure.
And he was our go-to. He was basically our hero, and
Mm.
right. So my mom was studying in the UK, and so she came
Sure.
back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she underestimated
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we've now kind of like cemented a relationship with dad, and we now
Mm-hmm.
used to a certain way of doing things,
Mm-hmm.
because the minute that she got back, it was like getting back and immediately cracking whip, you know
Yeah.
I was like, and it was like a culture shock, if I can call
Mm.
it that, for lack
Mm.
of better phrasing, right?
Sure. Mm.
And there's a lot of other things that were really disregarded, if I think about it now,
Yeah.
because when she came back, remember, she had missed our entire foundational years.
Mm.
So we now had mommy issues. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Because she was absent. And
Sure.
I blamed her a lot for leaving us, because
Mm.
I couldn't I didn't have the emotional intelligence at that
Mm.
point to kind of understand her reasons for doing that,
Mm.
and the fact that this was her journey, and
Yeah.
and ukuthi bekavumelene nomuntu wakhe ke, because
Well.
yeah,
Mm.
understand. But I didn't have the EQ to navigate that.
Yeah.
I was a
Mm.
kid.
Sure.
And that caused a, a, really a rift between us
Mm.
growing up,
Mm.
because um I don't think she smoothly um tried to step back into it. It was just, I've
Mm.
arrived, crack whip, right?
Yeah.
And uh, not understanding where we were emotionally. And
Okay.
it took me a long time, after a bit of therapy, to really understand that, you know what, this was her journey, and it was not intended at messing with our foundational journey years journey and but you know I also had to quickly learn that the relationships between parents are not synonymous between the different children.
True. Definitely.
And
Yeah.
now I'm really touching on something that tugs at my heartstrings because my sister and I were talking about it on the weekend.
Mm.
So I've got nieces and nephews, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one nephew of mine that is just the apple of my eye, you know?
Mm.
It
Mm.
doesn't mean that I love the others less.
Yeah.
But with this one, because I've been there from day one of him like
Mm.
being
Mm.
born and we've got a very special bond.
Sure.
It's also something else that I couldn't interpret. And I just felt
Mm.
like so now on top of the mommy issues that we had, I just now
Mm.
felt like now you've got favorites
Mm.
as well. So it was just layer upon layer, and it caused a really challenging relationship with
Mm.
mom, and
Mm.
um, the fact that she reacts differently and does things differently with different kids, that
Mm.
really that really grated my tits, you know.
Mm.
However, having said all of that, guys, there is nothing that is more liberating than forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the minute that we accept that our parents are human beings too, and they've got their
Mm.
own mistakes and their own journeys, only
Mm-hmm.
then can we be able to build fruitful relationships.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, the power of forgiveness is to actually being aware of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness comes when you give up all hope that you'll go back in the past and change anything.
Mm.
Yeah, so when I heard that phrase, I was able to kind of like go through the
Mm.
journey to say, okay, I can't change it, but I can change me, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
how I basically perceive every situation. I can change me and how I respond to each
Okay.
situation.
Mm.
And this I can't change somebody else. I can't change the fact that um mommy has got certain relationships with somebody else, and I can't
Mm.
change the fact that mommy had to go and get her degrees when she had to
Mm.
go. That's all in the past. And
Mm.
so when I heard that for the first time, that phrase that said forgiveness comes when you give up all hope and all possibility that you can go
Mm.
back to the past and change that which was done. That's when the real forgiveness comes. So
Okay.
it's really a journey.
Mm.
And like I'm saying, you can either use those relationships to kind of break you, or to
Mm.
or for you to rise above that. And if you do rise above that, there's great value for you because there's great strength that you derive from that.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I know it's a
No, I agree.
mouthful. I know it's a
Yeah.
mouthful.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but yeah, the reason I requested is because I know I've had challenging relationships with my mom, and
Yeah.
so much so that my mom was an academic, and I was so opposed to her saying every year in January she would call like clockwork and she would say, you need to register. What are you registering for? So much so to my detriment because I was so obsessed on on being rebellious, right? And it's sad that my mom never saw me graduate because only when she had passed, I decided I'm going to do that in her memory. It's something that she's always wanted for all of us. You know, it's sad that I kept that from her, even though I knew that I had the the intellect to do it. But because that's what caused my mommy issues, I was so
Yeah.
opposed to giving her that one thing that she wanted because that's the only thing I could control
Yeah.
in that
Sure.
scenario.
Yeah.
So it's deep, man. But
It is.
yeah, I hope
And
wherever
if you
she
don't
is,
mind
she's
me
proud.
asking,
Yeah.
you don't mind me asking, how has that improved or affected your relationship with children, be it your own, your nephews and nieces? Have you then looked into that and interrogated how then this experience that you've had with mom, and obviously the forgiveness as you have spoken about it, how has that reflection been for you?
Guys, awareness is the best gift you can give yourself, right? I'm very much aware that I overcompensate for my nieces and nephews. I
Okay.
overcompensate, especially with time, and I can be in the middle
I don't know
of
what's happening, but I'm losing you for a sec.
you
Can
losing
you
me.
guys hear? Oh, I think it's from my side. Sorry
Okay.
about that. Yeah, continue. Sorry about that, Z. I think I was receiving a call.
All
Yep.
right. I can be in the middle of a pivotal meeting, but when my nieces or nephews call, I will rather switch that meeting to my phone, get in the car, and show up because so I'm very much aware that I overcompensate. I don't want I don't want people shouting at the kids. I always say, guys, have conversations with the kids. I don't want anybody laying a hand on the kids. I'm very much aware that I overcompensate because I think I'm really trying to do the opposite because of the how everything that mom did I feel impacted me and made me feel right. I always say, you know, people will forget what you do, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. So I overcompensate to my detriment at times, you know. And now I'm starting, maybe it's a bit late, but I'm starting to have those conversations with the kids, with my nieces and nephews, because I haven't
Yeah.
been gifted with anyone of my own. So I'm
Okay.
starting to have those conversations to say, to just maybe it's a bit late, but to say, you know, if I can't do something now, I can't do something now, because now I'm trying, and now they like little teenagers, and
Yeah.
I've done this all along, you know. So I'm trying to ease them into it as well, to the change, and not just pull the rug under them as well. Yeah.
Okay. No, I hear you. I hear you. Quite interesting, and I think um, to the point you mentioned earlier on that no two kids experience the same parent.
Mm,
I think the deeper level of it, in my understanding of that phrase, was how, because it's often a thing, especially when we touch on that level of black sheeps, that people often ask the question, "Yeah, hore, but y'all were raised in the same house, raised by the same parents," but that's
mm.
actually not true. None of
No, it's
us
not.
is raised by the same parent, because, yeah, the person is the same, but your experience of them is different. One, from perspective. Secondly, they have grown, and they might be a different person from how different pattern from how they were with the first child, for example, and they will be different with the last born, for example, and the personalities also come into play of the different kids. So at no point in time are we ever experiencing the same pattern. So that brings a lot of things into perspective when you consider how then children of the same household turn out differently, and experience a different kind of relationship with their parent or guardian. So yeah,
Certainly.
and yeah, continue.
No, I was saying certainly, like, you
Yeah.
know what they always say about middle children. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
slap bang the middle child, and the middle. What they always say about middle kids is they feel like the forgotten child. They just they exist, you know. And
Mm.
the one thing that I always you know, if you ask me about my fondest childhood memories,
Yeah.
my dad is always going to be in that conversation because
Mm.
in my heart of hearts, and I still know it now, I've always known I was my
Mm.
dad's favorite.
Okay.
And you know, even, you know, people around you observe, like aunties, uncles, and all of that. And
Mm.
you know, when they tell the stories about and for when you hear the stories,
Mm.
it wasn't even just a choice. It happened from the first day I was born, that he was
Mm.
just we just had that bond, you know. Uh,
Mm. Mm.
because I'm not gonna bore you with the tale,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And even throughout my childhood and throughout my growing, I've always known that I'm his favorite. I've just always known.
Sure.
There was not, I could never set a foot wrong with my dad, you know.
Mm. Mm.
And I just didn't understand why I couldn't unlock that with my mom. Like, is something
Mm.
wrong with me? And then I
Yeah.
realized that I'm being a bit selfish, you know. I had
Mm.
other siblings in the house that also needed attention, you know, that also needed
Mm.
to be emotionally balanced. It wasn't all about me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had the best relationship with my dad. I had the best childhood experience. And I wish he had just lived a bit longer,
Yeah.
you know, so that he could enjoy exactly what he had embedded in us.
Mm.
And it's tricky to expect that two different people and the outcome would be the same in terms of the relation between those two different parents.
Yeah.
It's you can't expect that.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I
Yeah.
definitely hear you. And well, as far as you remember, in the case of mom being abroad, was it communicated to the kids why it happened and what it means? Like, was that socialized with you guys, or you just
Um,
knew that mom was away?
no, remember, we were born in the very early 80s, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, I believe that our parents loved us the best way they knew how. And the reason that I say that is that if we talk about communicating with a child, you
Mm-hmm.
can't compare it to those parents of those days, because a child was
Mm-hmm.
just a child and the conversations would happen amongst the adults. You know, you wouldn't be sat down and those conversations would be had with you. And
Okay.
maybe it did happen, right? But
Mm.
mom left for the UK when I was in kindergarten.
Okay.
So maybe this is not a childhood memory that I have. Maybe I've blocked it out because it was
Mm.
traumatizing to me,
I hear
right?
you. Mm.
And I really wanted her around. And even
Mm.
for me, it was triggering to see the other kids at school getting dropped off by their moms while my
Mm.
mom wasn't there.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll always relay my favorite childhood memory when it comes to my mom. I was in grade one and she showed up at about 12 o'clock. It was about
Mm.
just before 12 o'clock. But she
Yeah.
had landed on my birthday. She had landed on August 26th, which is my birthday.
Mhm.
And the first thing that she did is she went and she bought birthday cake and she came straight to my class with that birthday cake. So
Mm.
she drove straight to my class and I saw her at the door and she had this cake in her hand, for all
Mm.
the other kids to have. That's my fondest childhood memory of my mom. And
Mm.
that made me so happy.
Mm.
And I was even allowed to leave early that day because my mom had come back from the UK a bit early. But
Yeah.
I think for me that also talks to the longing for her
Yeah.
as
Mm.
as that
Mm.
as that 6 year old. That's how
Sure.
much I longed for her, and
Mm.
to see her there was the best gift that anybody could have given me. And
Mm.
yeah, so it's tricky because I thereafter when she went back, I started becoming an angry kid, right?
Hey. Mm.
And she had to go back, but I
Mm.
started becoming an angry kid, and I don't think even conversations were held as to why I'm an angry kid and
Okay.
why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. I
Mm.
think my dad's presence and my dad's love, I think what that did, it kind of just put a band-aid on it.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue was still festering. It was there, you know?
Mm. Mm. Okay. No, I hear you. And with, I think you mentioned therapy there. At
Mm.
what stage of your life was the therapy, and how then that began? Did it at least make things better, or
Yeah, it
how?
did. I was a teenager when that
Mm.
started. I was in high school, I
Okay.
remember.
Mm.
And yes, it did make things better because then I gained the understanding that that was her journey. You must remember that mom got her firstborn child um basically immediately, high school graduates, she gives birth to her
Mm-hmm.
firstborn child,
Okay.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
then the second came and then I came, and
Mm.
then my sister that called me just now came there immediately thereafter. So
Mm.
she had had all of these kids with my dad, and she had been doing like clerk jobs and all of that, but she wanted
Mm.
more for herself, right? So then that's when they had the conversation with my dad to
Mm.
say, this is what I want to do. um and they commissioned a nanny. So it was well, there was a plan. They had a plan. It was well thought
Yeah.
out.
Mm. Mm.
But that nanny wasn't my mom,
I hear you. Mm.
you know. And I
Yeah.
find that in as much as the therapy really helped, I find that I even overcompensate now in my adult life with
Okay.
just in my marriage. Like,
Mm.
I try and be more present, if my husband
Mm.
needs me. And I think he's learned that, so much
Okay.
so that if I'm gonna have like a pins down session with my sister, um if he's struggling with something, he's not going to call me because he knows I'm going to drop everything.
Okay. Mm,
So yeah, I think we all just have our own baggage, so to call it.
mm, mm,
It's it's not always necessarily pink and fluffy, but I think once you understand the struggles that your partner, the traumas that your partner has gone through, and then you can navigate it in a healthy way. Then you can navigate it in a healthy way.
totally understand. Totally understand. And out of interest, do you obviously the effect may not necessarily be the same, but with the rest of your siblings, do you see similar traits of this and how it affected y'all, or there's differences in that?
So yes, it's similar. It affected us all differently. Like with my older sister, very independent, very driven, you know,
Nice.
and almost without emotion, if I can say that. And um, with my brother,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, he may not know it, but I see the fact that it actually impacted and affected him very negatively because he just became um, rebellious in every way. And I think all he was trying to do was just, um, it was a cry for attention, but I don't think my parents got that,
So,
you know?
mm,
So with everything
mm,
that he did, I'm not making excuses for him, and I do
mm,
call him out, with
yeah.
his behaviors because even fresh out of high school, he ditched high school and he came to Joburg, you know.
Mm,
And then with me, it's exactly how I've explained.
yeah.
With my sister, that's younger than me,
Mm,
she is she's a firecracker, man. That one. I think she had to she had to grow a thick skin, and because
mm,
I was so affected and by it, and we
mm,
are just a year apart, right? So I think she's felt all her life that she has to protect me, and I'm also epileptic, right?
yeah.
So having said that, um I can remember a conversation that my younger sister and I had 2 years ago, where I said to her, I'm actually an adult, I'm older than you, and I'm married now. Because I was so upset with the fact that she always just wants to protect, protect, protect. And she said to me, I need to sit you down and explain to you why I'm like this. She said, remember the reason we went to the same schools is because you were epileptic and I always needed to look out for you. And
Mm,
even now in our adult life, I don't know how to unnavigate that
mm,
space. I don't know how to cut this cord because this is all I've
sure.
known,
Mm,
you know?
mm, yeah.
And
Sure.
okay, and then with the last born had both parents there because she was a welcome home baby. Actually, when my mom got back, she got pregnant with her. So
Yeah.
I don't think she quite shares the same the same
Mm,
separation challenges that we had.
mm,
The four of us.
yeah.
Yeah, that we experienced
Mm,
because
mm,
she grew up in the whole time her foundational years and her teenage years, mom and dad were both there,
sure.
and she was just a baby. She was our little doll,
Mm,
for the four of
mm,
us. We used to braid her
mm,
hair, we used to play with her. She was like our little live doll.
mm.
But
Okay.
I think also there, the I think what we don't we don't serve enough justice for last born children. Yes,
Okay.
we were all older to her, and I think we created a dependency there. Mm.
I hear you.
So she won't do anything. She's got her own apartment. She works and, but she won't do anything without running it by you, you know. And sometimes I
Consulting.
think you really can't be calling me about that at 8:30 in the evening, you know. So I think we created an unhealthy dependency there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Quite interesting times. These the histories we come from and how we have ended up here and how we therefore navigate them. And my last question to you, that I was just thinking about it is how, with your experience with your mom and from what you mentioned, she's late. Have you made room for a mother figure in your life at any point in time, perhaps in even in her absence? Did you have something like that? Were you ever open to something like that, or that became a chapter that you like? Okay, this is it.
I don't trust women.
I was so hoping that you would not say that.
I'm sorry, I don't. And I trust male figures more, right?
Hmm.
Um because I always expect them to leave.
Sure.
Ooh, that got me. I always expect them to leave, and um let me tell you something very painful that I still try and reflect on daily, right? When my
Hmm.
dad passed, so my dad passed in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
I was inconsolable. That that really crushed my world down. I That broke me. Like the hurt there
Hmm.
was absolutely raw, right?
Hmm.
And it still hurts. All these years later, uh,
Mm-hmm.
20 years later, it still hurts. But I promise you, my mom passed away 2021
Mm-hmm.
in the height of COVID, even though she didn't pass from COVID. Do you know that during her funeral, I was consoling her grandkids and my sisters? I was
Hmm.
not broken. I was not shattered. I didn't cry. And somebody said to me, that grief is going to get to you, but uh, I've been waiting for it to come.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with my dad having passed 20 years ago, that's still sore.
Sure.
And but I've managed to accept that mom's gone. And for me, it's like, oh, she's gone, you know? It is what it is. Um, do I miss having conversations with her? She was very wise. She was very smart. I mean, she was an Oxford graduate, right? Very smart, very wise. And you know, s- now I'll sit with my cousins that got to spend time with her when, like, I was already in Joburg working, and it's like they're talking about somebody completely different. When they
Sure.
talk about her empathetic nature, when they talk
Hmm.
about her loving nature, about her, for me, it's like they're talking about a stranger. But I'm grateful for those conversations because I think they give me a sneak peek of what it could have been, you
Yeah.
know?
Sure. Hmm. All right. No. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with us on that. And I think for me, the last question and that I asked and the answer you gave um, I hope that you the I don't trust women is not in turn pointed at yourself. You
No.
know, because and I would only imagine that it would even be trickier to even pinpoint it.
Yeah.
To say that do I have the capability myself to disappear? Type of a thing. Is it innate in me as it was, in mom, even though it was not a disappearing type of a
Let me
thing. But
rephrase it. I don't
yeah,
trust mother figures,
okay.
and not
Okay.
women as such. And I'm trying to redefine it, and that's why I overcompensate, right? Because I'm trying to not be that mom that I feel was not emotionally available to me. I'm grateful for my cousins, like I said, when they tell me things, I'm grateful for them because my cousin never had his mom around his entire life. I'm grateful that my mom was able to do that for him. You know, I'm grateful for the value that she was able to add with them, because the way they speak about him is the way that I feel about her, is the way that I feel about my dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm happy for them. But I don't trust mother figures, and I'm very quick to pull the plug if I feel that this is going anyway south, because I'm so afraid of the hurt that came with that. And I don't know if I dealt with it appropriately. I don't know if I still need to deal with it. At the end of the day, she was my mom, and believe it or not, I do love her. I did love her.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just we had a very, very tricky relationship.
No,
And you
I
must
understand.
remember, dads are the sweetest guys ever. Dads always want to play good cop. And then
Yeah.
if you then have a mom that wants to crack whip, as a kid that is used to getting away with everything from dad's side, who's your safe environment, it's going to make you it's going to make you um get distant. It's going to create that distance between you and that child. And this is why I
Yeah.
always say to moms, I always say, try and get closer to your child. You don't know how much they're actually yearning to just not even be your friend, but for you to be the apple of your eye, you
Yeah.
know?
Okay. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Z.
Thank
Thank you. Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a
All
pleasure
right.
indeed. Everyone, welcome, 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 welcome. You latecomers. We welcome you. Sabrina, are you ready there?
Patang, umpisa latecomer. Can you hear me? Good morning.
I got tired. I got a ven.
Yeah, vele, but wabadelela rebulu ya rona motho. It's always the case.
How are
How are
you,
you
Mama?
doing?
How are you?
Multitask ka iheta, but it's fine. It's part of life.
It
Hi
is.
Z. Hi Miss Z. You know what's funny,
Yeah.
this topic? I just recently found a passion. I wanted to sign up for child psychology for some reason. I yeah, that's like, oh wow. Okay, is it personal or is it me overseeing or observing? Definitely everything that comes with that. I fully understand where Z is coming from. I heard her. It's a very it's what most black kids go through, but they'll never talk about it. It's what most moms, like the emotionally unavailable parent, does that to their child, where they actually don't want their emotions to be involved because they're assuming that getting the buck or the bag, as we're always encouraging, is a sacrifice that needs to be done so that our children can actually have everything that is best. Whereas children just want their parents to be around. Children just, they would, instead of you creating a culture of going to Spur every month, they would rather have that dry bread and black tea with you. With you. That is what children yearn. Children yearn for what's going on questions, and unfortunately when it comes to parenting, nobody gives us the manual. Nobody says rather do this. Everybody figures it out. And I keep blaming Z with how she feels when she says that I don't trust the mother figure, because the mother figure is supposed to be the nurturer. But with how society has also rigged things, she's now the survivor. Do you know? So once you're carrying that cross, generally that means that you are not available for your children. You are recreating the pains that you're carrying and you don't want to talk about, and you're forcing your children to just as I'm it's yes, so now I'm sorry about that, it's Sammy there. It is very sad what parenting has become nowadays. I mean, if you were to even ask your own parents how they looked at their parents, it's a very sad story that comes with that. Papa was always at work, mama took care of us. And then comes their group where education was not even much of a factor, but survival was. Then comes our generation. We want to be educated parents. We do. It's such a huge struggle. We remember I once said this. It's so sad that people become parents when they have not healed their inner children. So many people are walking around with their inner child crying all the time, and that bleeds on our children. It then creates the culture of don't let them see that you're crying, don't let them know what's going on. Whereas the freedom of expression when it comes to human rights or the Bill of Rights comes with one actually finding an environment, whether it's home or outside of home, that allows them to express themselves and grow from that. So the parenting relationships nowadays aside, I was raised by my grandparents, for instance. That's who I then look at and say, Mama and Papa. Do you understand what I'm saying? You look at my mom and dad who are still around, because then according to life, right? According to life, my parents are gone because my grandparents passed on, right? But I still have my mother and father. Two people that you won't see them have a conversation together. Their perception of life is way different. But I had to become the adult that says, hey, bro, at the end of the day, get mama, get papa. There's absolutely no relationship. There's a relation, but there's no ship. There ain't no sailing there. No. Hakuna sepe. My dad is the worst. My dad is my biggest fear when it comes to men. Please send me that story about that.
How for you? Maybe that
And Papa Kaki, I mean, I'm the firstborn of 10 right there. And you then get to be raised by a mother who is dedicated her life to church, to kind of say, I was once fooled and I won't allow myself to be fooled. I'd rather be Mother Teresa, and she's got other children, but they're from church, spiritually. They're not my siblings. And then my mom is the one part of life that I don't want to fool myself into. But I respect her. She's kind. That's nice. Okay, ndi man ngwanyana warapela man. Yeah, but that's just right about it. We don't have that relationship whereby I could say to her, Mom, I'm bothered by 1, 2, 3, 4. She might say pray about it, and that's just right about it. She won't try and navigate it with me. She won't try and advise accordingly. She just won't. It's a this call. I've been waiting for it. Okay.
Not a problem. Righty. Welcome, everyone else. My name is KG. If you're joining us for the first time, part of Makoya Rundown, and we are here Monday to Friday, 20%, and having conversations. And today is not an easy one, and I just want us to talk. And I think this was requested by one of you guys before. It just got a bit delayed in us tackling it, but some of you have great stories. Some of you have not so great stories. But it is the part of life, and that's why we are having these conversations, so that we can also navigate these. And yeah, they must come, but I don't remember exactly who, but I have it in my screenshots, and I was like, oh yes, this is the topic. So that's
Hi, my
that.
brother.
I would Renault or sharp.
I'm good in you.
I'm alright.
I
Come on, good.
remember it was me who requested it that time. I remember.
There we go.
I remember. I do remember 100.
Exactly.
Well, this
Are you back?
topic is interesting, my brother, because we are fading a huge relationship as young people who are growing and parenting. You understand? Okay, I don't have a child, right? But I see how things work around people. You have a I'm not gonna say toxic, but people who are too controlling, but yet you are a parent, I understand. Like, for example, let's take you have kids, right? And you are on your kids, they are 5. But there's that, on that 5, there's too much favoritism. And the thing go to one is more important than that one, and the other one is not important than this one. The other one is, and the one who has been seen like he's down, and we think that person is useless, but you don't give him an attention or her an attention, but yet you need their help. Panukuti, you as a parent, you ask help from me. Let's take financially. You ask help to me just because you want to pay the money to contributing to your business because you have a gig or whatever. But then when it's my turn to ask you the same favor, now it's something else. There's no money. There's no money for you to look for stuff. You see such situation. It makes one person to be broken and be shifted away from you as a parent. How do I communicate with you now? You understand? Okay, and to come back and say, okay, as a kid, I have plans to do, plans that I want to achieve. I understand. If I tell you good, I have plans when I get money, you say bring the money, and I want to do something important. That's my plans not important as well. I understand. That's my plans not important. Which means your plans are important more than mine. I understand. And you will come as a father and say, you know what? At, you are staying at home, but you are able to say, at home, here at home when you are staying, it's not a hostel. Whatever money you take, it must come to the house. Which means now your plans needs to be shift away just to satisfy other people's plans. How do we maneuver all of that? How do we deal with all of that? How do we be learn to be independent while there are people they're putting the pressure up, you know what? Black parenting is important in this house. Black tax is important in this house. How do we
Sure.
supposed to pay people who raise you but then failing to support you? That's
Sure.
my 2 cents, and I will stay in the comments and understand, my brother.
Thank you so much, Abutu Reynolds. You always bring me difficult questions and topics when me and you must have a sit down because it's too much. But thank you for coming up.
Although I'm strong because I have too much information that I'm saying.
Keep it coming. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, you know, the I think I was driving. I just came into the car from a store, and there was a radio conversation that was going on, and I don't even know what it was. But as I walked in, or as I got into the car, I heard this person saying, there there's a difference between parenting kids and letting kids grow up, you know. um and I was like, hey, actually there is the element of just looking at kids grow up, and there's an element of actually parenting kids. And we may just have it missed somewhere depending on the age of the child and whatnot. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, and I even hate to use this comment of there's no manual for this thing, because I think it's not helping in any case. But be it as it may, I think only when we grow older, I don't know if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but only when we grow older do we hopefully have the EQ, and yeah, the EQ to see our parents in the light of them not just being our parents but just being adults that we now are, you know, and hopefully have that compassion, understanding. The thing. Okay, I'm missing the comments here. I will get to them in about a sec or so. So that is the thing, that when we grow older, I think part of, if it's not going to be the start of our healing, in terms of whatever that we experienced in our foundational years with our parents, is seeing them and understanding how, as an adult, kurafu nje, you know, whatever difficulty that you are experiencing yourself, then you begin to actually see the room to extend grace, and begin to understand certain things a little bit better. And with that EQ, you can try to have conversations with these your parents, at least in hopefully when it is allowed, in that let's talk as adults here and begin to understand. And I think maybe that might even bring room for them to get off the role of, some may not even know, to get off the role of being a parent to now being a mentor, being an adult, having adult conversations. So that's just something that I think might just assist us. So let me just quickly check what I missed. Right.
We're talking about those conversations, right? I'm sorry for stepping in.
Not a
But the
problem. Come
parent
through.
really needs to be ready for those conversations and emotionally ready for those conversations. Because the reason that I went to therapy in my teens is because I felt it was time to really understand why things were working, why things were done in the manner that they were done. So much so that I asked my mom a question that I'd been burning to ask her for years. And I asked her, why did you have kids? Why did you have us? And I don't think she was ready for it, because even her answer to me displayed selfishness when she said,
Sure.
no, I loved kids. I always wanted to have kids, you know? And I'm like, but yes, you had kids. We don't dispute that. You did have kids. And then you got on a plane and you still left those kids here. We had a brother that left a warm, comfortable home, right? My dad was an engineer, and this is why I'm an engineer today.
Yeah.
So you had a son, your only son left a warm, comfortable home to go somewhere in Joburg and sleep under a bridge because of things that he perceived were injustices, right? So what benefit was it then to have kids? If you are going to say no, it's because you loved having kids. So we need to be ready as parents for those conversations, because if you're not ready, you also need to be careful how what you say, how that's going to be received, because like I'm saying, how I received it was, but that's such a selfish thing to do, for you to just have us and leave us here. You go to the UK, you come back, and still you don't stop. Like, when does it stop, mom? Then you go to Lesotho. Now you're at the University of Lesotho. Then you're in Botswana. Then you're in Durban. And you're just collecting these degrees. But have you stopped to think about what that has done to us?
Sure. Yeah.
Because education is a drug, my brother. Do you know the minute that you first get that first degree? I'm experiencing it now, because now I don't want to stop. It's addictive.
Yeah. No, I hear you. You see, the only response I can give is that of an adult, especially in any case, when you're having those conversations, hopefully you're having them as an adult who, has the EQ to navigate that. We've had these conversations or similar, or one part of this conversation in this live, where we were talking about the reasons to be having kids. Why do you want kids? Why don't you want kids? Right? We've had a topic like that, and there were a lot of selfish reasons in that conversation, and whether it is right or not to have a selfish reason to have a kid, it is what it is, sadly. And hopefully then as an adult, having been experiencing everything else, growing up, you may have the fortitude to then accept that this was purely a selfish decision for my parent to have me, and interpret it to how you would obviously see it and how it makes you move forward in life. And I would then say that in such a scenario, quite frankly, you're on your own.
Yep.
Because this person had you for their own selfish reasons, and you will only exist to serve those selfish reasons. And you then choose whether you are going to be party to that, because that in itself has its own repercussions, right? Good or bad. And then it calls you to ask yourself, then who are you? Who do you choose to be going forward with this information that this was a selfish act of this person? In actual fact, I should not be, even if you are, but I should not be surprised that everything else, even the response, even what happens after this, will all look selfish.
Yeah,
So
because
therefore, yeah.
I think because of that, we are creating broken children. We are creating a broken society. People are they don't have that emotional that emotional connection with these parents. My mom was an only child, you know, and that's another thing. And she had 5 of us because it's still selfish for me. So don't go and have 5 kids because you're an only child. Anyway,
Yeah.
Usare yalo, you're judging me. I'm the only child with one child.
yo.
But
So
but just to add to
yeah.
what you two are saying, ne? Here's the reality. You only get to realize that when you're an adult. Growing through that was painful. We need to acknowledge that part. And we also grew up in a society whereby you had absolutely no right to start addressing such issues with your parents. They don't understand it. You need to be grateful that you're alive. You understand what I'm saying? If we are actually coming into what society brings, we run after these women out there who would rather, unalive than deal with this because they are struggling to deal with themselves. I wish, and I still say this, that the education system, if it's not at home, because at home we know it's a struggle, the education system has to actually start the psychology part of how things must work out when you're a kid, and they should start saying, write letters to mommy. Even if mommy gets to read that letter in December, you're allowed, instead of forcing your mom to sit next to you and you having to express yourself as a child, which also triggers the parent, by the way. If my kid had to walk up to me and say, you're always at work, I need to make sure that the clothes that are on your body are there. I need to make sure that there is a meal every day. I need to make sure that things are okay. A child doesn't understand that. A child wants you. And you are the person that says to the child, it is what it is. The child then feels left in the cold. Now, what do we do when we're left in the cold? We want to clothe ourselves. We want to clothe ourselves with whatever that we find. And I understand fully where Z is coming from. But then again, I'm also trying to understand where mom was trying to fulfill her own traumas by extending or expanding or multiplying herself. It is one of the worst things that nobody says to us, here's the curriculum for parenting. Are you ready for this cause? She did say herself that the unfortunate part about education is that it is addictive. But it is addictive because there is manuals, there is books concerning a certain topic or a certain field that you're interested in. But there is no field of profession, there's no PhD for parenting. You have to take it upon yourself that I am growing. Every year, how a happy birthday, Kongwana, how. Even us as parents, we need to reflect on what we have learned. We need to reflect on what has changed. How has that built me? We cannot lean on our children as the goal or the vision of our success, because that's where the problem lies. When you dedicate everything that you're about, everything that you've survived, and you're saying, my children will not experience this, there is a gap that is left in between your growth as a parent and them having to grow up with you through that goal. That is the toughest part about parenting. It is the toughest part about it. So, Hazi Are, she does not want children. Society will mock her. Society will blame her. Society will label her. But they don't understand the context. Like I always say, people live to create content, but they are not content with themselves. It's a survival jungle out there whereby I want to make sure that I'm a good parent, but I want it to materialize, meaning that you guys as the viewers, when you see my child well dressed, well spoken, you're thinking it's me. Nobody's taking into consideration that actually that child had to be appreciative of those clothes, and that child had to make sure Wapasa maybe to even obtain those clothes. So that is the sad part about being a parent. You're navigating a relationship that I'm a provider, I am the caregiver, I am making sure this person is not in the streets. But Z then says, let's highlight what my brother had to go from. The brother had to run away from home to try and find not a stagnant, but a stability that home, which is deemed as the safe place or the safe environment, could not provide. And he could not speak to the parents about it. Why? Because they knew what they had to do. And it is unfortunate that the gap between what is the reality of what parents go through, even their own healing, their child traumas, most parents don't talk about that. Most parents won't even say to you, well, guess what? I grew up go every day, so what? They don't want you to know that pain. They just don't. It is embarrassing, it is shameful. But then they don't realize the impact of, wow, mom, if that's what you are actually telling me you went through, and I'm looking at this successful person, well done. Praise be to the faith, to the environment that you've created for us. And while we do that, reward yourself as a parent in order to navigate the fact that I've got 5 children with 5 different personalities. But the one thing that they have in common is me. Why am I the common denominator in all of this? But like we said, I want a PhD, I want perfection. And the sad part is parents are not the same. Nobody would expect a baby girl to find strength in her father. Society does not give that award. Mom is the superhero. Mom is the survivor. Mom is the make a plan lady, but we don't want the make a plan lady. We want our mom. We want to see her vulnerable, not because she is weak, because she can do it, because we believe she can do it. And on days where she can't do it, we know that she will get back up and be able to do it. But parents don't allow themselves that space. And that is why we are recreating broken children.
Yeah.
And broken children are thrown into this jungle, and they are expected to have pride that bona lona lebo simba mama gago ke nala, you're the grandchild of. It does not qualify the gentleness that comes with you raising these children, the wisdom out of nowhere that comes from raising these children. But instead, parents have this armor that they're pretending is from God. It is not from God. It is not from God. He just blessed you. But now we need to recreate patterns of the blessings that we have in truth and transparency, so that the understanding that comes from a child, it is not that open your mouth and eat. It is that we pray for this food because it was provided for by grace and I was able to. So the most unfortunate part is this part, that the children don't have the opportunity of choosing how they want us to parent them. Because if they had to, we assume that it would be a mess. But now the EQ part, the EQ, the emotional quality of parenting, it is very, very important. That is why in most cases we find that children are raised by grandparents because of the nurturing and warmth that comes with that, and the panic that the parents have of if she was to know what mama does or what mama has to go through, it would be a lot for her.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sabrina.
That was deep.
Z,
Yeah.
sorry. For the sake of including everyone, I think
Yes,
Abutumpo has
I'm gonna
been
have to get off. That was
okay.
deep.
No
I'm
problem.
just thank you, Sabrina. That was deep.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Z, also for you and your comments and coming through. And we hope that the healing journey still continues. And yeah, definitely. And ke kopa le botsa, all of you, ba le fetsa ho tla after 11:30. Let's why? I think we need to address this thing. Ya hore le tla ka 11:30. Let's why further. My friends ba re ba le bone, let's why. In any case, there is a situation I wanted to bring in. I have a friend of mine, for the sake of this, we'll call it Anonzane. They have a situation that I'd like us to give input into. And it ties to the issue of navigating things, but I'll come with it after Butim Prophet or Butimpo. How's it, sir?
Hey, Package.
Or Granda But
I'm all good. I'm all good. You still owe me a phone call, but that's fine.
do I owe you or do you owe me? Because me, I have opened and I said, okay, you know, when the call comes, it will come when.
In front of the people here, you owe me a phone call.
Okay, no, then we must do it. Let's do it. Otherwise, confused, sir.
Good. So the other day I was watching this movie. I think it's the new Eddie Murphy Beverly Hills Cop movie. And
Yeah,
in this
so
movie-
the thing, yeah.
Yeah, there's this one part. God, he's got this crazy relationship with his daughter. There's this thing that he says to her, which I felt was very profound. He's like, what does he say? He says, please note that this is my first experience as a parent,
Okay.
you know, and she responds, it's also my first experience as a child, you know, and understand that we all go through things, and the traumas to childhood value, they're real. We all go through all of that, you know. Because from my experience, when I tried to talk to, first I spoke to my mother. My mother, in the beginning, she was not receptive to the whole idea of me talking to her about the childhood traumas, you know. It was that thing. I'm like, can we talk about this? And her response, "Go one roh." You know, one roh. I'm like, mother,
Yeah.
you hurt me. You know, Mariana wanna come roh. You know, and I had to also grow and to understand where my father left at a young age, to a point where when I tried to reconnect with the guy at an older age, guy was not interested. And I had to also come to that realization, as a man, he was going through his own things, you know, the things that I go through now as a man. I'm like, hey, that man was facing a lot. Hey, this thing of providing, you know, of school fees, you know, shoes,
Yeah.
you know, sinyega, out of nowhere, man. You just bought shoes 3 months ago, you know. Stuff like that. I think the two sides to it, how I see it, is this. The one side, I might have people disagree with me on this one, but it's okay. The one side, people don't want to grow up. They want to be still treated as babies, balbaba, you know.
Okay.
Like, they don't want to grow up. They don't want to take the responsibility of growing up and understanding that growing up is tough, you know. Even though many people were not warned, you know, like, but it's about a whole lot like a ponel, you know what I mean? And that was probably the best advice they could ever give. Like, you know, in short, they're literally saying, look, I'm having my experience as an adult. Grow up, you'll have your own experience. and we looked at it as somebody who's throwing us into the deep end with sharks there ready to ravish. And it was them saying, look, life is not easy. It's not gonna be easy. It's tough, but grow up, have your own experiences, deal and maneuver with all these experiences the best way that you can. Yes, there are other parents who can be like, yeah, I'll help you, I'll assist as far as I can, and that is what life is. And then the other side of looking at it is that some people are just bad parents. Literally, some people are just horrible parents. You know what I mean? Where they don't even it's like in football. When you're playing soccer, there's this term that when things are happening, they tell you, they're like, "Hey, switch on." Switch on means pay close attention to what's happening around you.
Yeah.
And some people just had babies and they never switched on. It was that thing of like, okay, these kids sharp, child. You know what I mean? And even how you talk to kids, the whole thing of swearing in front of kids, and you think, well, kids are not gonna pick up all that stuff, and funny how kids only pick up mostly horoak. Like when you're swearing, kids pick up all those swearing words, So I think half the times as we grow older and we literally pay close attention to how our parents are and how open they might be or they are to us growing up, we need to. I think we need to give our parents grace. The reality is they did the best they could with what they have. Because this whole thing that is happening, Gamma Gen Z, of trauma, trauma. What do they call it? Trauma. What's this word?
Bonding?
No. There's it's not trauma bonding. There's this thing everybody saying, it's like trauma attention. Yes, trauma attention. Where every time, whenever you hear somebody talking, they're literally just talking about that one trauma. Like sometimes we have to realize, sport for sharp. I've got traumas. Let me deal with them myself. My parents are not going to deal with them for me because they don't know how to. They were never taught. They don't understand. Even till today, like if I sit with like my aunts and my uncles and we start talking about mental health, it does not resonate the level. What is mental health to them? They don't know what that is. You know what I mean? Because they did not grow up in times where mental health was such a thing. It was a thing of like, hey, fair to we give you a loaf of bread, decide what you do with it. So now what I'm saying is that sometimes let's just give our parents grace. If you look at where you are and how life is working out for you, they had a hand in that, because it's so easy to literally go and just blame parents for them being, for not, or baska rekela kavela le tracksuit ela Nike, let's keep us at DMD, there's more to it. You need to understand that they went through their own traumas. Imagine they dealt with apartheid. That's a trauma in its own right. Now after that, they to parent. You know what I mean? So they had to choose the greater evil. Yeah, let me forget about all the stuff that I've been through. Let me try to raise my child the best way that I can. So like I go, let's give our parents grace, man. Let's give our parents grace.
I hear you. Right. No, I agree with you categorically. Because I feel there is other elements where there should be a level of accounting, and this is, I guess, and I'm hoping that parents here in this live are also listening, and hopefully other parents outside of this live are also listening. But I think if perhaps we all come to an understanding that regardless of the reason why you chose to have kids, the fact that these kids are in this world, they are going to be or need to be individuals by themselves. And it is therefore your role as a parent to help them to be the best person that they can. Even if it may not necessarily serve you as a parent at that point in time. All right. So, and that's just part of the sacrifices that comes with being a parent, that you are raising kids who are going to be adults in this world, who are going to interact with other adults and other kids. So we want to make sure that whoever has an interaction with this adult, that this child that you're preparing to be an adult, will have a pleasant experience. I think that's the least you can do for humanity, you know? And that will have elements where it does not serve you as the parent. It does not benefit you per se as a parent at that point in time. It may even be in contradiction to your own convictions. But I think when we see that I am raising this human to grow from being a child to an adult that can navigate life, that can bring positivity into this world, that can be part of a society and contribute positively to society. And that is the role I think parents should have in their minds. And this now means you will have to have different stages of how you engage this person. Because now we know the foundational years from 0 to 6, if not 7, I believe it's even 5. They are very important. What you do at that point in time with this child, it influences much of who they become for the rest of their lives. So when you deal with that, honestly, I feel that the molding happens there. After that, you know, it's guiding. After that, you become a mentor, so to put it, so that, you know, at different stages and at different years of your child's life, you will have to adapt to be a different person. So you can't be this might be off, but you can't be a mother or the same mother. Yes, you can't be the same mother or the same father all the years of your child. This will always be your child. You will always have the soft spot, the love, the whatever. You always see them as your child. But you must also see them as a toddler, see them as a teenager, see them as an adult. Because failure to see them as that will impact, first of all, your relationship with them, and internally who they will become as they grow older, because their experiences of you informs how they then navigate this world. So it brings me back to now the situation with this friend of mine, and we experience it a lot as Black people based on the history we come from, right? So you grew up, you are a child in the house, doesn't matter how many you are, but you get to a point where the parents have sacrificed everything for you to have what you have. Educational opportunities and all of that, eventually get employment and whatnot, right? We end up having a situation where we feel indebted to our parents. And that's a normal feeling, right? But there comes a time where that feeling of indebtedness counteracts the progress that we would like to see from generations to generations. And I mentioned this in the element of building wealth. When we coming from poverty backgrounds, for us to step out of that, we need to feeling indebted or being grateful. You would be surprised, Makupe, that the difference may not even be drawn, or the line might be too faint for some people to differentiate that there's an element of me being grateful, and then there's an element of me being indebted, because also it comes out to how you have been socialized. Let me draw this scenario of feeling indebted. The negative connotation of black text is that because I've taken you to school, I've done this and this and this for you, now that you're older, you ought to do this and this and this and this for me, regardless of whether you want to or not, because I had to do it regardless of whether I wanted to or not. That now breeds, especially when you're socialized in that environment, breeds the feeling of being indebted to this your parent. Whereas as a parent, if they say, Hore, you know what, I have raised you as my child, I've sacrificed everything for you because I am your parent, and I wanted to do that because I chose to have you and I brought you into this world, so I had to provide for you and do all of these things. But all in all is so that you can be a beautiful human being and live your life. Should you feel any form of gratitude towards me and how I have raised you and all of that, it will just be a cherry on top. You see how now, if you're socialized in the latter, you will then have gratitude. You have room to have gratitude. But if you're socialized into the former, then it now manifests as indebtedness. Now you owe your parents this thing, So I understand, Makupe, and I can tell you, I already hit it up, so you will see that some of this comes out, in terms of the arguments that are being had, in between the child and the adult. You must do this. And the reason they are coming out as that is because this have just been believed, and oftentimes because parents have not allowed themselves, and this is not because there's any rule, parents have just not allowed themselves to be human with their kids. And I think that is very sad, and they are robbing themselves of that, because when you just become a human with your kids, you can allow yourselves, of course with age, you can allow yourself certain vulnerabilities to then say, yes, in my child, I knew nothing, and what I could do with you. I did the best that I could, but I feel that I might have, disappointed you here and here and here, or at least I feel I could have done better for you here and here and here. And this is because perhaps of where I'm coming from, this and this and this. Having such relationships or such conversations with your kids allows them to also have room for that grace that Abutimpo was speaking about, to say now that I no longer just see you as a monster that I've created in my head because of the experience I've had with you. I no longer see you as just this figure, this role that you are playing and not just the human being. I no longer just see you as this position, this job role of being my mom, of being my dad. But now I'm seeing you as a human being because you're allowing me to see you as that. And that gives you room to, get to the point you're saying, I understand now as my child why you would have seen me like this, why you would have had these feelings towards me and all of that. And it gives room for both of y'all to grow together. But when you always just have the thing, Akuti, you're the child, I'm the parent, regardless of your age, you will fail to have conversations with your kids, certain things is, for example, boundaries of, you have a child who lives in your house for whatever reason. Could be that the child is either helping you as a parent, taking care of you, or the child is a breadwinner, for example, and they feel that if they are to leave home, it would be much more difficult for them to help at home, because they will also have certain things to do, and all of that in terms of rent and all these other things. So the salary gets split into two. But also there needs to be, to a certain extent, gratitude coming from a parent to say that there's a possibility my child could be leaving my house and go stay by themselves and go take care of themselves, but then perhaps making a sacrifice to then stay in my house because it's much easier. Whatever grocery they buy, we are able to eat and share together, right? But I must also afford them the courtesy to the fact that they are adults, and they will need whatever freedom and boundaries that an adult needs. I mean, as a parent, it's your house, you get to do whatever that you want to do. When they're in your house, they may not necessarily have that freedom, especially when you are like, this is my house. You get what I mean? So there's that element, and I think it speaks to the navigation. How do we then have proper conversations as children and adults, where we are saying, or children and parent, where we are saying that I'm here and I'm home because of this, and in as much as I'm home, there's certain freedoms, certain boundaries I need to set. And I mean, we have this some of these sayings as we grow up. Lost my trail of thought. Oh man, these things. I'm just having now memories here. So there's that point. Oh, I was gonna say, we have these sayings in my language where we say, it's even in English, you can't have two bulls in one crop, right? And sometimes the conflicts that we are having with adults staying in the same household is purely because we are adults, and we want certain freedoms and certain, things. But we need to also have that thing to say, okay, now I'm living with 2, 3, whatever number of kids that you have who are adults. And I think this is why in certain households where they're able to hold the bedroom, where then as a child in the house, you will have your own back room to have your own space, and be able to navigate that. But the truth of the matter is, when there are adults in the room in the same house, there's that element of conflict, or that conflict that can happen because I'm an adult, you're an adult. There's adult conversations that must be had, but you're now addressing me as a child, and I'm like, what can happen? I'm not a child, So we need to have that room as adults and as parents to say that, for example, for me, my parents were saying, we have raised you, we have done what we can and what we could. It is now for you to go and live your life. We may struggle, we may have this, but this is our life. However, we have raised you so that you can be an independent person, go build your own household, go live your life, because we've had the opportunity to live our lives. And we are hoping that us raising you has at least contributed in you being a responsible adult who will make decisions for themselves, good decisions and things like that. So go live your life, and there's never been any requirement to pay back, whatever form of parenting they have provided, financially or otherwise. But as and when I've had to then say to them, I say, okay, cool. Since you're giving me this room, then let me know when there is a need, because I may not know, because I've stayed quite far from home for most of my adult years. So let me know when there's a need so that I can meet the need when I'm able to, but I'm never pressurized to meet the need beyond certain expectations. Is meeting the need to where I'm able to. You get what I mean? And that, I would go as far as saying, it has created a very wonderful relationship. I will still feel grateful, where I'll be saying, you know what, my parents have done this, let me do this for them, type of a thing, and I'm doing it wholeheartedly, so there is that room that comes into play. But yeah, come through, let us know how you navigate parenting relationships, and we can take it from there. Let me just follow your comments. Right, so okay, so come through, if you would like to give this friend of mine advice and speak to the element of how do we handle the scenario where a child isn't still at home, especially because we also have parents who raise, particularly daughters, who will say that, as my daughter, you will leave my house when you're married. So as long as you're not married, this will be the situation, and whatever the case. That being the case, but there being an understanding that this person is still an adult and they still need their space as an adult, and perhaps, painful as it may be, we might need to consider how we can allow our kids to, lack of a better word, to let them go, and let them live the life that they can live, especially because as adults, man, depending on your age, you have lived your life, you have dealt with strife, and you're able to still make ends meet whenever you're able to, but I'm quite sure that, given, because for me, the benefit of leaving home, and I think I saw a comment earlier on when someone was saying it is underrated, the beautiful opportunities that come as just by you leaving home, because you're no longer in an environment where you have seen yourself as a child. Now you are seeing yourself as an adult, and you are in your own space, your own house, apartment, whatever it is. You are, responsible for what are you eating today, how are you getting that food on the table, and things like that, So that becomes a very beautiful experience, and it gives you room to then mold yourself and shed off certain things that being home puts on you. Now you begin to see yourself as a child. And I mean, imagine the simplest thing of, you are staying at home, you want to buy clothes for work, for example. There's a certain attire that needs you need to be at work, and you are buying these clothes, yet there is a certain need in the home, and when you are now coming with new things, you are being looked at with that eye out, hey, you went and bought clothes, whereas Osina this and that in the house. You see how that just creates unnecessary things, just because there's an element of monitoring, because you are being seen every single day. You are not able to buy something for yourself and enjoy it for yourself without feeling guilty that you do not buy it for someone else something. you know. Whereas when you are at your own space, you are able to buy whatever that you buy responsibly, so, and knowing that whatever assistance that you provide home, you'll still do so to your ability, because it allows people and generations to grow, so that the next generation is not in the same level of poverty. If anything, we have stepped out of that poverty because we have allowed one person to live the situation of home, build as much as they can, and acquire the level of wealth that they can without us feeling entitled to it, so that when they have their own children also, they are bringing children in a better environment. And perhaps they may have also room to extend a hand to one other person to bring them out of home, so that they can also build. And now we have two people who have built a better life for themselves that can help other people to come out of that. So we are doing it in such a way, we send one person, they go amass what they can amass, they're able to grab one person, come out with them, they help them build whatever, this person also comes, so we are able to drag each other out. So it's that thing of saying, you plant trees that you may never sit in the shade, but at least you know that your lineage will enjoy the fruits of that shade. All right, so that is another thing that I was thinking about in terms of parents, and perhaps messages to parents and those of us who want to have kids in the future, that we think about these things and how you're going to navigate your parenting role, in as much as it may be difficult and you don't have a manual. But when you think about the best interest of your kids, I think it will be a bit better, although you don't sacrifice too much of you and replenishing you, because if you are depleted, how are you going to give to your own kids? You know, so you will always give now from a point of emptiness and not from an overflowing cup. So we need to find that, and I think that's what life is, that balancing act. It does not matter the stage of your life, there's some things that you still need to balance to be able to live a fulfilled life. And yeah, come to you guys. We have just a few minutes left for us to have this conversation. I think I'll be closing off at around 12:30. So come through, and I've been seeing people coming through that I've not seen in a while. Lady Guluva, I see you there. Tabi Sesa, I see you there. I see Mposeavela, I see you. Maseko B, I see you there. Pumula B, I see you. Libu B go fela, yeah? Libu B go fela. Yeah, man, this is what I wanted us to talk about, and I know it was triggering for some of you, but like I said, let's have the easy conversations, but equally let's have the difficult conversations, you know, of how we navigate relationships that we have between a child and a parent, you know, a child that is an adult for that matter, you know. How do we have this thing, and just being open to having conversations with your adult children, and not taking it personal, or like Abu Dumpo was saying, or now you just respond by saying now one tocha, you know, simulon trial or whatever the case. There's no that. You've raised this person to respect you. You've raised them with manners. Having now conversation with them in their adult state is you now seeing the fruits of what you have empowered them to be. You know, so I don't think there will be any means of disrespect. Maybe there's disrespect because you feel you've never been spoken to like that, or you have not spoken to your parent like that, so you will see it as disrespect. You know, when there's no vulgar, when there's no manner of demeaning or anything else, it's just conversations as you would have with your own peers that we hope you're having conversation with as an adult. Have it with your own children, your adult children, and you will be amazed how much you learn, how much you grow from that, you know. And I had this experience, if I might just reflect, with my mother. When I left home for university, she had she built a habit of waking me up in the morning. I call it waking me up because she went to work quite early, and when she would just call to check up on me, or I guess for her to feel close to me, she would always wake me up, and we'll just have the conversations and all of that, and that built a relationship of actually talking about things. Because now imagine you're speaking with this person every single day, they are not seeing you as they are used to, and you will run out of things to talk about in terms of how you're doing, how's your health, and all of that. You know, there will becomes where we are not talking, come a point where we're talking about opinions and thoughts, you know. So I would ask her, hey, what do you think about this and this and this? We'll talk. And she will say, hey, what do you think about this and this and that? And that opened room for her to even see the wisdom that she had imparted in me as a child, to then, you know, have to, for lack of a better word, drink from that. And I think it was a beautiful experience for her to have, you know, to say that I've raised this child who now can be able to advise me on certain things. And I can see that there's value in that. So as a parent, have room for that. You know, there's so much that you can learn from your kids, to learn about yourself, but equally so to learn about the world that they live in and how they have taken up your teachings and incorporated them into their own lives that they use as a lamp unto their feet, you know. So yeah, my relationship with my stepdad is not 100% good because of sexual abuse he put me through or in, you know. So yeah, Reynolds, we need to have conversations with that. You could have it with a third person, and also so that you can heal in terms of that, and then how you and decide whether you need to be having conversations with this person, and how are you going to navigate this relationship. I see you have to get back to work, fam. Keep it makoya cancer and emotional issues that we both had to each other, but we move with life. No, definitely we do move. And I think with every challenge that you have, I would say you have a choice, especially as a person who has experienced something traumatic. You have a choice to say, are you going to view it as a child? In the eyes of a child who experienced it, are you going to view it in the eyes of an adult who hopefully knows better now, right? I was having this conversation with my wife, and we were talking about how certain things that we say to each other, or certain conversations that we have with each other, we need to be cognizant of how we respond to these conversations, challenges, issues, and whatnot. Are you responding as a child based on the experience that you've had? Are you responding as the current adult that you are? And the moment you are aware of that, you are able to filter your responses in that lens. And I think it helps build beautiful relationships, right? Where you say to yourself, okay, my husband, my wife, my partner has done this thing to me. It irks me. Is it irking me as an adult, or is it irking me as a child? Who is responding at this point in time? These emotions that I'm feeling, are they of my toddler self, my child self, or are they of me as an adult? Is it productive for me to do that? You know, so when you have these conversations, then you are able to at least filter your responses accordingly. And also it leaves room, and it should, that you can say to each other to even ask the question, baby, in this reaction, are you reacting as the adult that I know, or are you reacting as your childhood self? Which one it is. And don't feel offended, because at that point in time, you may not have realized it, but your partner, knowing you, knowing your past, knowing, all about you, they're able to see and be like, okay. And it's not even, and it should not come from a point of gaslighting and all of these things and using the trauma of your person against them, but understanding that you are making them aware that your response does not look like you, does not sound like the adult I know. So possibly there's a childhood you who is speaking right now. Are you aware of that or not? So that also gets extended to these parent relationships, where as a parent, understand that, are you responding to your child based on your experiences as a child? Are you responding as an adult? And who are you talking to? Are you talking to the childhood or the child of your child, the younger version of your child, or are you responding to the adult version of your child? And do you trust yourself with your teachings to say that, whatever that they are responding in is based on the teachings and the values that you have instilled with them? Because it's a two-way relationship, this thing, two-way road. So let's do that. Reparenting yourself is so important. It comes to that we need to then parent ourselves or reparent ourselves, because we are older enough and we have hopefully the EQ to then have those conversations with ourselves and reparenting ourselves in such a way that it will benefit you and even your parent, who perhaps you're not able to have these conversations with. But I think parents, open your mind to having adult conversations with your kids. You'll be surprised. You would be very surprised, and I've had to learn it, where looking at my wife and how she conversates with her mom, at some stage I was like, girl, why are you being disrespectful to your mom? But then I understood that I'm looking at it from the lens of, I could never respond to my mom like that because there was no room for that. Right. But to them, they have an understanding. They have built this relationship. Then it made me room, gave me room to be like, oh, so there's this other side, and I can learn from that. At some point, it stops being your parents' fault. You need to take responsibility for yourself. Exactly. It was perhaps your parents' fault as a child. Yeah. But now as an adult, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to learn? How are you going to move past that? How are you going to heal yourself? Because unfortunately, as an adult, it's also not the responsibility of your parents to heal you. Because they may not know how to, but also then becomes your own responsibility to heal yourself. And we can only hope that they will learn and observe how you are doing it, and perhaps we might teach old dogs some new tricks. Who knows? So but in any case, we have reached my time. Using a traumatic childhood as an excuse for bad behavior is gross. It's not demure. It's not cutesy. Don't do it. So that's that. And thank you so much for joining in. And please, those who are coming after ka half 11. Tell me, please. Why are you coming half 11? Like, genuinely, let me know. Well, why are you coming half 11? You know, what's going on? But in any case, all of you who are coming through, nami ngiyasebenza makhuphi, nami ngiyasebenza vanilla. So for all of you who have joined us for the first time, even decided to follow us, welcome to the family. Click this heart thing here. I think it gives like 1 rose or something like that, equivalent of 1 rose. Click on that so that you can always get, and follow so that you can always get notifications. We have these wonderful conversations that hope to grow us, help us navigate parental relationships and all of that. So come through. We are here Monday to Friday, 20 past 10. We have these conversations. So come through, and we invite you to participate. And don't just be a consumer. Participate so that we can learn from the wisdom that you have. So we really, really appreciate you. By the way, we do have a YouTube channel, same name, Makaya Rundown, where you'll find the recordings of previous conversations we've had, like literally since August last year. You can imagine Monday to Friday how many videos we have there on YouTube. So go get your own, and you can use, for example, the short clips that you see on our page. And if that is an interesting thing, you look at the date, then you're able to go reference that date with what's on YouTube. And sometimes it might be like, because we upload, for example, we'll upload this live tomorrow 1 p.m. So then the day before, 2 days before would be that, and you'll be able to catch it out. So that's how you can filter through our library. And yeah, man, we hope that this conversation brought a bit of healing, started the healing process, help you have a different perspective, whether as a parent or as a adult child. And different circumstances that you find yourselves in. Let's have this conversation. Let's allow room for boundaries, healthy boundaries that can be set. To know that we always see these things in the movies with other kids. Parents can just enter the room. It is the violation of privacy. That thing is real, but what? It is real. In our adult years, please do not invade my privacy. My privacy may not even be my room. It may even just be my space here. So these are things that we will need to learn. And especially when we come from older generations, it is also an opportunity to learn what the newer generation is experiencing, how they are navigating their adulthood, that you might learn something from these Gen Zs and Gen Xs. So just be as aware as possible, read as much as you can, listen to these conversations as much as you can, interact with other people as much as you can, so that you can always be willing to learn. Right. So in any case, my name is KG once more, and I will see you guys up on Thursday. And we will have another topic. Send topics that you would like us to talk about. Let me know. Whether you send it on the on our DMs, or you say it here on the comments. I will screenshot it and have it there. So you can do that. Suggest the topic now, and let's see what you would like, because it's not about us talking to you. It's about us having a discussion about things that also matter to you. So Z, thank you so much, Mama, for coming through. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing your life with us, and we really appreciate you. Abu Reynolds, if you're still around, thank you for that too. And Sabrina, thank you for your contributions today. Abu Dumpo, thank you. Mahlatsi, thank you. Anonza, thank you. I hope also the conversation what's good for you. And yeah, man, let's meet on Thursday. Tomorrow there will be another person hosting, so come through. We're still here, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and keep it makoya, man. You know how we do. Keep it makoya all the way. Cheers, guys.